welcome to Trisha's Cards and Crafts. I'm Trisha, and today I'm going to be making some cards using the A Child is Born stamp set. Let me just make sure this is working. This should come out. There's a slight delay on the there we go. Right, that's better. Okay, right, hello. If anyone's managed to join me today, if not, I'll hopefully see you when I put, or you hopefully see this when I put it on my channel when it's, I'll upload it as a video. Today I'm going to be using this A Child is Born stamp set, and I've got a few different cards to show you some cards with these. So I just thought I wanted to try and make something a bit more traditional this week. What did I make? Last week I made the cards with the Christmas greetings, the Merry Christmas, and this week I thought I'd try something a little bit different, as well as because of the card kit that I'm using uses non-traditional colours, so I thought this week I would try and use some more traditional sort of colours and more traditional type of stamp, a religious stamp rather than a non-religious stamp. So I've got two white card bases. They're half a sheet of A4 cut in half in widthways and then folded in half again, so we've got A6 cards. I've got some, now this is the only silver foil I've got. I'm waiting for an order to come in, but this was available, I don't know if it still is, from Stampin' Up, and it's a metallic, no, not that one. Well, I did have it here somewhere. I think it's brushed metallic, brushed silver and gold foil, 12 by 12 speciality paper in gold and silver, and there's 3 sheets of each in the pack. I'm also going to be using some white card, basic white, and some Night of Navy. I'm using Versamark for this one, and this one's hopefully a more straightforward card. This is one I made earlier, or two I made earlier, and this is the type of card we'll be making today. This one I cut diagonally, but the one I'll make today I'll cut vertically down the centre, just so that you can see that you don't have to do a diagonal card. It can be horizontal or vertical, and it still looks just as good. The only problem with this one is you do really need to have a stamping platform to do this, so that you get your cards in exactly the right position. Now I've got a Stampin' Up stamping platform, but you can use any stamping platform. It doesn't matter what you've got, if you have one. If you don't, there are ways around it. You can use rulers like these T-square rulers, and you can make sure that you line everything up so that you fix it in a position, and then you can line up your card so that you stamp in exactly the same position on the white and the navy. There is another way of doing it. If you cut them vertically, and you just have 2 pieces, you can actually attach them in the middle so that you've got them as one piece of card and then stamp it that way. But I'm just doing it a different way. But there are ways around it. So if you want to know any other ideas or anything like that, or how to do the other version, then let me know, and perhaps I'll try and see if I can do another version. Okay, so those are the 2 that I've already made. and that's what I'll be making first. So we've got everything cut ready. I think they're all more or less the right size. So this time, because last time I made them I didn't cut them all to size, so this time I've learnt my lesson. Put this out of the way, and we don't need, we can fix these onto here, and I'll use some of my Stampin' Seal Plus. You don't need a lot because it's very strong, and just leave more or less a reasonably small border all the way around and make it as even as possible. Do the same thing with this one. Oops, that was a bit close to the edge. Just make sure that's not over. I'm going to put that at the bottom. I'll just make sure that is a little bit further up. There we go. So those the bases are ready to go once we've got the rest of the card done. So what I've done, I've made sure these are both cut to the same size, and they are, it's 3 5/8 by 5 3/8 of an inch. These, they're both exactly the same size, which is what you need to do this with. And here's my stamping platform. Whoops. Yeah, again, I'm sorry about this, but Stampin' Up! Don't make this anymore, so I can't show you a different one because I've only got this one. But any stamping platform will work. It doesn't have to be the Stampin' Up! One. Now, I've got my stamp already on a block, so I will take it off the block. There we go. And I want to put it in the position that I will want it on the card. So that, I think, will be just about right. Pull that down, add it to the card, and then take that off. Make sure that this is in the corner, so that's where it was. And then we need to use, the Versamark. Whoops. And I'm just going to hold it. There we go. Don't have to have all the banging. So just make sure that you get good coverage with the Versamark. Okay. And I'll just go over this with my anti-static pad. There we go. And then bring this down. Make sure, press it down firmly so you get a good impression. There we go. That's pretty good. Take that one off, and before I do anything else, I'm going to do this again, but instead of using Versamark now, I'm going to use my, I think I used Secret Sea last time. I'm going to use the Night of Navy. I forgot I had used Night of Navy card, and I can't get it out. There it is. Whoops, there we go. And I'm going to use the Night of Navy. It doesn't matter if I don't clean this off. That won't matter. I'm just going to put the Night of Navy over the top of the Versamark. Even if there was some left, it doesn't really, it won't affect the image. if anything, it should make it clearer. There we go. Put this down. Press down again. Make sure we get a good impression. And lift that up. And there's the two cards I've got now. Put that out of the way. Oh, I need that. I'll put this back on the big block and then I'll clean it off before I use it next. There we go. Just put that out to one side for a moment. Put that out of the way. And move that. And we want to get, I've got some scrap paper here. And I'm going to use my white embossing powder. You can use silver, it doesn't have to be white, whatever embossing powder you've got. It's better if it's a different colour to the card, because obviously it's going to show up a lot better then. And that's, most of that is off now. Give it a good flick, make sure you've got as much possible off. I just go over that one again. There we go. There are a few little spots. You can try and get anything that's left on there off. I haven't got, if I could use this, could be a little bit red. There we go. Just clear anything off that's on there, because once you heat it, even if it's not stuck as such, it will stay there and it will heat emboss and stay put, and you won't get it off afterwards. There we go. Right, put that there a second while I put this away. There we go. These embossing powders last for a long time. You don't need a lot of it to do your images. I'll just get this and hold on to the edge there. Excuse the noise, I'm just going to have to use this now, so it'll be a little bit noisy. Be as quick as I can. There we go. There we go. Once it starts going, it does go quite quickly. You don't want to go, you just need to just stay nice and even and just don't wander the heat gun away from your image too much, and don't leave it too long in one place, because if you do, sometimes it can sink into the card. There we go. Yeah, so if you leave it in one place for too long, sometimes it can sink into the card, and then you don't get a very good image then. Sort of goes a bit misty looking. Right, so we've got our two cards with the images on. It doesn't matter now which way round they go, that's fine. I'm going to use my trimmer, and right, 3 3/8, so if I do it around about here, it doesn't really matter if it's not completely in the middle, but that'll do. And we just cut through both images, make sure they were both together. So you've got two now in exactly the same place. So all you do with these then is just swap them over, so you get the opposite card. I think they're called positive and negative images or something like that. So you get 2 different cards from one sort of design. So you've got the 2 there, so then they will hopefully marry up quite well. So you've got them together like that, so that they join up. That's why you need to make sure they are in exactly the same place when you stamp them. So all we need to do now, we could do I'll do the sentiments. So I use this before they go onto the card. Now I've got For Unto Us a Child is Born, and I'm going to put it at the top on both of them. Could put it down there, but I think it'll look better at the top. And I'm just going to stamp it in using Night of Navy, and then I'll stamp the other one on this side, but I can bring it down slightly for this one. There we go. It gives a nice clear image. So now we're going to stick these down, get rid of the ink before I make a mess. So across the bottom, whoops, whoa, don't want that to happen. Have to move that out of the way. You just have to be careful when you use this one because it's so strong. Right, we want to leave a similar margin around the outside. So when you put this one on now, I've left too much of a margin on that side. There we go. Well, when I do the other one, I'll know. So we'll do this one next. There we go. We push this into position. There we go. And push it down. There we are. So this one is a little bit off centre. I don't like that, but there we go. Let's try again with this one. So this time we do the white first. And bring it over a bit more this time and try and make sure it's straight. There we go. And there we go. Oh well, I did my best. It's difficult when you can't, when you're filming, it's difficult to be able to see. You can't go on top of something to make sure you've got it correct, but there we go. That's not too bad. So what I used to finish these off, the other one off, was I used some of these and some of these. These are the faceted snowflakes, but I think they actually look like stars. So I use one of these big ones, and we put that one there, and I might put that one there, and then use 2 of these. I'm going to use my, well, yeah, if I can find it. That's not it. My take your pick tool. It was, there it is. Just fallen over slightly. Right, so just take this one, put one over here, and one over here, and do something similar on this side. So one down here, and one over here. And there we go. So that's our first 2 cards made. Not doing too badly. Right, so that's the first. Oh, I haven't done the insides. Right, for the insides, I've got "Oh come, let us adore him." That's the other sentiment I thought I'd use. So there we go. And this one there. And then I've got this little lamb image, and I'm going to put him over here. Don't think the bottom of it came out very well. There we go. And then I've got this one with stars on. I think it's a little bit, I think the actual image is a little bit wonky, but there we go. We'll try it again. And I want it to be there. And this one there. There we go. So those are my first two cards. Now for the next card, I'm going to, and this one I can say thank you to, I think it's Cherry Stokovich of Cherry's Cards. She's a demonstrator in the US, and she's made a card very similar to this, slightly different papers and things, but this idea, and this is, she came up with this card version. And I've used the the manger to use as a catch to keep this shut. It will stand up like that, so it stands up like that. Okay, so you can stand it up, but when it opens like this, and then you've got another piece of card on the inside, sort of in addition to it, if you know what I mean. And then I've put this on the front, and that's on the inside. So this is the next card. It does look quite difficult, but it's really simple to make. So I've used half a sheet of A4 of, this is Secret Sea, and it's the full length of the A4, and I've used some cloud cover, and that is 3 3¾ inches wide, and it's 10 inches long, and it's scored at 5 inches. The A4 piece is scored at 5 7/8, and then at 2 15/16, so that you get it in the middle. You need it to be a little bit nearer the top than the bottom, so that you've got room to put this in, so that you can stop it from disappearing off the bottom. You don't want it any further down than that. Okay, so that's how it goes together. Okay, so I have done a little bit of preparation for this, but I will show you how I coloured it in and everything as well. So let's get on with this. So I've got my card base and all the bits and pieces already cut-ish. So I've got these coloured in already, so that you don't have to see me cut them out, because they need to be fussy cut afterwards, but I'll show you how I coloured them in. I've got this piece of the Starry Sky card, and this time when I did the last one, I didn't do it very well because I didn't think about it, and I cut this slightly over to the side and not at the bottom. So I'm not going to cut this one right to the bottom, and I'm not going to cut it right to the sides, because I can stick this over the top, so I can use this as a background, so I don't have to stamp all the way around and do that as well. So that's going to save something, and it'll save any wasting of the paper as well. So I just make sure this is the right size, because if not, I'll cut it down ready. Right, it's not, so we need to cut it down to the height. It's only the height that's not right. So cut that down to there. That's all I need to cut. Trim that off. So I'll use my mini, just cut that piece off. So that is all I'm wasting of that piece. So this piece is 4 1/4 by more or less 5 7/8, and that will go in there once I have cut out my shape, which I will do next. Just get rid of that out of the way. Right, so hopefully didn't get any marks over me. So I'll put those to one side for a moment, and we'll get this cut out. Whoops. So I'm using my large stamping cutting emboss machine and the cutting plates. There we go. And don't think this is going to move about too much, so I want it about there. Doesn't matter too much because it will be covered up, most of it, or it will all be covered up. So we'll push this through. Whoops. I think this one is the most complicated, if you can call it complicated, because it's quite straightforward really. There we go, card to make. And the die set I'm using are the Everyday Archie Styles. Okay, there we go. Let's put this away. Hello, thanks for joining me. I don't know what's happened to this. I must have moved it. Oops, sorry. There we go. Hopefully you can see that now. I don't know what's happened here. I must have knocked it when I got the die cut machine out. Sorry about that. There we go. Right, so you can put this bit together now. Don't need that yet. I'm going to stick this piece on first, and then that will go over the top like that. So I just, like I said, it's 3 3/4 inch wide by 10 inches and scored at 5 and folded in half. We'll just stick this in to place. And you do need to do the size really, just in case it came off. So that's going right down to the crease, and it wants to come across to this side. Hang on, I'm not going to get it off, so it will stay where it is. There we go. And then this is going to go over the top like that, but we've got to do some stamping first. So we've got, hopefully, a piece of white card somewhere here. Right, I've got one here. I just cut it in half, so we don't need the whole thing. Actually, it doesn't matter, does it? So I need to clean this stamp off first, otherwise I'm going to get blue again. I just, because I'm going to use some Memento ink this time to stamp this image. There we go. And I've got some Memento Tuxedo black ink, and here it goes. Make sure it's got good coverage, and I'm going to stamp that here. Just make sure it's all on the card. press it down firmly. And there you go. And I'm also going to stamp the manger. And I'll just stamp that up here. And again, pressing it down to make sure you get a nice clear image. There we go. So to colour these in, I've used all of these pens, my Stampin' Blends. You can use pencils to colour them in with as well, watercolour pencils or whatever colours you've got, but I've got these so that they actually coordinate with everything. So to colour the manger, I've used, not that one, I've used the light and dark pecan pie to do the actual wood parts of it. So this is the dark, so I'm just doing the bits that are underneath, so they would be in shadow. And I'm also just going under where the hay is. All the way across. So that's the dark, and then I'm going to use the light. You can do the light first and then do the dark and then go back over it with the light again, but so that it blends in, I'm just going straight in with the light. So you've got a little bit of a shadow there. Then for the hay, I'm using my crumb cake dark first in the centre, and I'm not worried about how well I'm colouring it in because it doesn't matter for this. And then I'm just going to go around the edges of where I coloured with my light crumb cake, and then I've got some Darling Duckling Dark, and I'm just going to go right around the edges now, so that you've got, so it makes it look as though that's a bit darker, so that there's more shadow where perhaps the baby was laid. So that's how I've coloured in the manger. Then I've used my, no, oh, actually it doesn't matter. I used the light petal pink to colour the wrappings for the baby blanket or sheet or whatever it's wrapped in. Because it doesn't show, it wouldn't show up too much if it was left white. So I'm just using that. Then I'm using some of the dark petal pink to do the shadows on it. I don't know, I've been watching people and they've been saying that they were using the dark to do the highlights. Well, that's not right. They've got to be shadows, not highlights. But there we go. So these are the shadows. And wherever the lines are, that's where you want to do your shadows. So that's where the shading comes in. I'm using the other end now just to do all the faces now. Again, I'm using the dark to do the faces and all the skin, not the light. And hands. There we go, and there's a little bit of his neck just there. I think that's all I need to do with that. And then I'm using some Pumpkin Pie Light. I saw somebody else using this to colour the skin in, and I thought, oh yes, that looks really good. So where the shadows are, now these images don't have any features on them, but I think that it does look right somehow. I think it looks nice. There are I think are they willow? It's a type of statues or things you can buy, and they don't have any faces on them, and I think that's probably the same sort of idea as this. Don't think you need to some people have been putting, I've seen people put in their own images, features in themselves, but I think they look fine without. I quite like the images without their features. There we go. So those are the skin tones done. For the for Joseph's coat, I've used Crumb Cake Dark and Light. So I use dark down the centre. Here. And where all the shadows are. And I would have thought they would have been around there, and down here, and a little bit the back there, and probably along the bottom part of his cloak. There we go, and there, under here. So that's all where I would have thought any shadows would be. And then I'll go over it then with the light, and I'm using the brush end, but I'm using the side of the brush so that I don't want to, I'm trying my best not to damage the brush tip. Did the same thing with the dark one as well. Try my best so that you keep it as nice for as long as possible. So this is how I coloured the other image in. A little bit there, and then just there. I've used some bronze. I think this is the bronze to colour the staff in that he's got. There we go. And I used the Pecan Pie Light and Dark to do the hair with as well, and I used a little bit of the bronze as well. So I used the bronze at the top where their partings are, right at the bottom, and so, and where the shadows are, so this part over here. Then the dark, just to go over again, so I've used some of the dark, meeting it, there we go, and down here, because it's a bit of shadow here, and down here, it's a bit squeaky. There we go, and then I'll go over it all then with the light, and I'm using the brush tip because I want to try and get it, take out as much of the white as possible and just blend all those colours together. And the same with this here. So I'm going from dark to light. You could do it light and then put the dark on top and then blend it back with the light again, but I just think it looks fine like that, and it saves a bit of time, especially when you haven't got a lot. You're trying to do everything as quickly as possible. Now I've got the light and dark cloud cover because I've used the card in the used the card for the card layer. So I'm just going to go over first with the light this time, so it'll all be coloured with the light, and then I'll go over it with the dark and then come back and go over it and blend it with the light again. So it's reasonably quick and easy to do this part because it's quite a big area and it's nice and easy to fill it all in. So that is all of the light, and then I'll go in with the dark but the bullet tip and just go where the shadows are, where I think they would be, under here, under her hair, under her arm, the lines that they've got. Along the bottom, this should be, because that's where it would be darkest, and under here, I think. There we go. So just go back over it just to blend in these areas of dark and light, so you don't have any lines as such. That's what's so nice about using the alcohol ink markers, is because the blend-in pens, because they do blend together quite nicely. You don't get any lines, but you do get the shadows. Hang on, I've got a little bit of a shadow down here. Oh, that's the dark. Need the light. There we go, that's better. There's a bit more of a line there as well. Don't want those lines there. Just blend those out. There we go. That's better. There we go. That'll dry down a bit more. So that's how I coloured those all in. Just put my pens out of the way for now, and then I fussy cut them out. So then I coloured them in exactly the same as that is in as that. So they're exactly the same colours I used. So I've cut them out ready, so we don't have to watch me fussy cutting. And the only other thing I was going to do was to use some Wink of Stella just on the baby. I think, don't know whether this works or not. Find out if there's anything left. There is a bit left in here, which is good. I'm just going to go over the top of the baby, just to give him a little bit of, hopefully make him stand out a little bit more. There we go. So I don't know whether you can see that. Hopefully you can. Just only a little bit, but there's just something there, a little bit of glimmer. Okay, hopefully you can see all of that. So now we can do a bit more stamping and finish the card off. So we get those, put those out of the way. So on this now, we want to stamp. What do we want to stamp? We want to stamp inside. And I'm going to use the Secret C for this now. I can put my Memento Black out of the way. And here we go. So on the inside, I'm again going to use my "Oh Come Let Us Adore Him." And I don't want my fingers in it. So that will go centrally. There we go. I will put my lamb down here in the corner, and the stars once again up here. Nope, that way round. There we go. So those are what's going to be on the inside. Because it's cloud cover is quite a light card, I'm not going to put a white inside, and I think you can easily see, you can write over the top of that, so that'll be fine. So now I'm going to stick this inside here. So I'm going to put some Tombow. Here we go, hopefully plenty in here, because that gives me a little bit more wiggle room. I will be hopefully on my Tuesday nights now going live at 6:30, because then if I need to go and pick my daughter up from work, she finishes at 8 o'clock, I should have plenty of time to go and pick her up afterwards. So that's why I'm changing my time, I'm afraid. Will stay the same now, hopefully, from now onwards. It was just she's been away for 6 weeks, so when I first started doing these, I didn't take that into consideration. Right, so I want it more towards the top than the bottom, and I want there to be a similar border all the way around. Try and make it as even as possible. So we can open our card up like that. That will go over the top there. Now for the manger, to make sure, I'm going to raise it up slightly, so I want a strip across here. Now you could use some dimensionals. You could just stick it flat with some yeah, you could just about get away with using some tear and tape, but I'm going to use some strips of, you can get these strips of foam tape, foam strips, I think that's what they're called. Yeah, foam adhesive strips, and Stampin' Up! Sell these as well. I've used some of these as well, but this one's not in the packaging, so I'm just going to stick that down, and then I'm going to cut off what I don't need with my non-stick scissors. There we go, and stick that back on there, and I can use that again for another project. So take this off now, put it there, and I'm just going to hold that down, and hopefully this will come just about to the bottom of the card, but it will also hold this shut. If I use a bone folder, it would have worked better. So that's now there, and then I'm going to add this on top here. So I'm going to use some Tombow for this as well. You don't have to, you can use whatever adhesive you want, but this is nice and handy, and it also means I've got a little bit of wiggle room. So if I want to, I can bring this down slightly and to the side, so I make sure I got it as central as possible. And then I'm going to add these on top, but I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this one. I've got a few odd ones on here, so I'll use some of this up there, one there, and then I've got some, they're not cut, right, I'll leave that one, I'll use these. So got some more here, and for this one I've already used some of the edges of this pack, and one more in the middle. I don't want it to go all get bashed up when it goes through the post, so I'm putting plenty of dimensionals on. I'm going to put one by his hand and one down here as well, to make sure that it stays hopefully in place without being bent or anything, hopefully. I could try and cut one in half and put one up here and one there, but I think it'll be fine without. Don't think it's going to be too bad, because I've put plenty of dimensionals on. Wouldn't probably normally put that much, this many on. Just take the backs off, rid of those, put that one up. Nope, that one's gone. There we go, I think. So I'm going to put this towards the bottom of the card like that, and that will then go under there like that. There we go. And then I used, for the other one, for this one, I stamped For and Twist a Child is Born on some white, but I'm going to use some blue for this one, some cloud cover, because I couldn't find the piece of cloud cover that I had left over so that I could do this with. And then I'm going to fussy cut it out. So I need some, put that away. Secret C again. And I'm going to snap this down here. There we go, lovely. Nice clean image again. Oh, there's something in the paper. Right, put that away and fussy cut this out. So this will be a lot quicker than doing the whole of the other images. Don't need to worry about this one too much. So just going around and leaving a small border around the writing. Whoops. There we go. So that's done. Don't need that now. And I'm going to use some of the mini dimensionals to go on the back. One there and one there. Take the backs off. Oops. Here we go. Whoops. And put that up here. There we go. And I'm going to use the stars again that I use, or whatever, the snowflakes, but I like to think of them as stars. And we'll put one. Oops. I'll stay there. Here we go. Put one there. And then two of these. These are the basic rhinestone basic jewels, and they come in different sizes as well, but I'm just using the small ones for today. There we go. So there's another finished card. So that was the first one I made, and so we've got two more cards made. Whoops. So you've got that on the inside, and again I just done it the other way around, and I used the other stars on the front, on the inside for this one, but it doesn't matter which one. They both look, I think they both look good. Okay, right, hello, thank you for joining me. And now for the last card. Hopefully we'll have enough time, because this shouldn't take too much time to make. I've used an Early Espresso card base. Again, it's half of a sheet of A4 folded in half. This time I cut it widthways, lengthways, not so horizontally rather than vertically. I've got this this paper here is from, I got it here. Oops. It's got this on the back. It's from one of the autumn, I think it's the Gathering Moments, or whichever, Gathering Together DSP. And I've just cut a piece off that for this. And I've used some of the gold brushed metallic speciality DSP again, that came in the same pack as the silver. but I've used the dies from these two dies from the Branching Out bundle or die set, so I used those two to make those, to cut those out. I haven't actually cut them out yet, so those, and I've also used these two dies from the Branching Out set as well. So there's the little berries and the pine or whatever needles. There we go. So that's what I've done with this. This one obviously is different colouring. So we've got everything here ready. Hopefully this one won't take long to colour in, so I'll just go through this with you now. So I've got my card base already cut out. I've got a piece of crumb cake to go inside, which I need to cut down slightly to make it fit, and then I've got the piece that will be stamped on. I'm not going to stamp it first. I did stamp that one first and then cut it out, but for speed I'm going to cut this down as well and then cut these out, die cut these out. Okay, right, so let's cut this down first. If I put that on that side, I'll be able to see where I want to cut it. I want to cut it here and here. Be quicker to do it with my mini. So I'll cut this bit off first. So cut that off and then cut that off. There we go. So that's my card base done. Then I'll stick this on with some Tombow, hopefully. But there is some foiling on the back of this, but I didn't really like the pattern very much, so I prefer the darker brown. It reminds me of sort of tree rings, I think. I don't know whether you can even see the pattern, but there is a pattern on there. I'll see if I can bring it up to show you. If you can possibly see, there's sort of lots of little circles inside. So that's my base done. Now we can use my die cutting machine again. And we need the plates. Whoops, there we go. Take that out. And we've got the gold. And I'm going to do it separately. So the largest one I'm going to cut out the gold with. And just going to hold that in place, move it up a little bit so I waste as little as possible, and put that down and push that through. Sorry if it's wobbling a little bit. Ooh. There we go. That's that one done. Take that off. Got my first layer done. And don't need that now. And then I'm going to cut this out here. Now this one will go across, so I'm going to try and lean it, put this on here like that, hold it in place, and here, and then I'm going to use, I've got a scrap of the gold somewhere that I used last time. I put out of the way to put it safe, and I've lost it, so I don't care. I'm going to use the other piece now. That's weird. Was there 2 minutes? Ah, there it is. Here it is. So I've got this piece, and I'm just going to put that on there and that on there, like that. And I'll put those through together. There we go. I did originally try to use, I saw somebody had done used a bleaching method with this. I thought I got it here. I don't know what I've done with a piece now. Oh, perhaps this is it. I'll show you in a second. Let's get these out of here, put this away. There we go. Won't be much longer now, hopefully. So we've got, this doesn't want to come off. This is slightly stronger washi tape than the usual one I use. There we go. That's done. And put that out of the way. And those are done as well. Put those away. There we go. So we can take those off. There. Take the washi tape off. And that one. Take the washi tape off. That didn't want to come off either. There we go. I'll get those out of there in a second. So the next thing we're going to do is stamp this side. So again, got our image. I think I'm just better clean it because I don't think I actually cleaned it last time. There we go. Just give it once over just in case. I can put that out of the way. And I'm using Early Espresso ink for this. Right, this is what I tried earlier. I don't know whether it shows up very well. I used the Versamark and then the Early Espresso, and then I used some clear embossing powder and heat embossed it, and then I used a solution of some bleach, some household bleach, but I did water it down a little bit, and I think because I did that, I mean, you can see it has bleached the colour, and it's done that, but it also, I tried to dry it with my heat gun, which I probably shouldn't have done, to try and speed it up a little bit, and it did melt some of the embossing, so that didn't help. But I don't think, it doesn't stand out enough for me on this colour. I saw somebody else using it, but it was on different coloured card, but I thought, well, I'll show you, this was what I was going to do originally, but what I'm going to do now is stamp this with my Early Espresso ink. Whoops. And I'll try and get it inside the lines as much as I can. There we go. And get that off. There we go. I must have missed her knees off, but never mind, that'll be okay because I'm going to put something else down the bottom, so that'll be fine. And I've used I have to clean these off first. Use that again. That's used. And that one. Just clean those off. Hopefully, my fingers are filthy with all these different colours I've used today. There we go. Try and clean as much of that up as possible. Even the brown does tend to stain the stamps, the clear photopolymer stamps. It goes a slight pinky tinge, but that's alright, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the actual stamped image. And I'm going to use these larger stars as well this time. So I'm going to put the stars over here. Just ink that up. I don't know which way round. Maybe that way round. So put that there. There we go. And then the For Unto Us again, A Child Is Born, and put that just here. There we go. So we've got our sentiment there, and then we're going to colour this in. Now, to colour this in, I'm using some of the Stampin' Up! Watercolour pencils. There are two different sets. This is, I think, set 1, and this is set 2. They used to come in a different packaging, but these are the new packaging, and they've got slightly different colours in than the other ones had. So it tells you all the different ones here, because we've got Fresh Freesia in this, and this one's just called Blue, but I think it's Blueberry Bushel. But a lot of the colours are the same, but they've got a basic white, which is what I'm using. I'm using the basic white, the Pecan Pie, and Early Espresso. So those are the 3 pencils I'm using to colour this in. So I'll start with the white. I'm going to colour all their clothes, their faces, in with the white, and then the hair with the browns and the staff with the brown, but everything else will be white. Now I'm going to try and stay inside the lines if I can. It's not that easy because I couldn't find my pencil sharpener and I had to use a knife or a scalpel to sharpen my pencil, because they're very soft, so they do sort of wear down quite quickly, and you use quite a lot because there's quite a big area to colour in. Just not going to do her hair, but the rest of it I will, but I'm trying to stay inside the lines because it does dull the lines down slightly as well. You could use, if you've got some white ink, you could use white ink to colour them in with. I have got some and I have used that in the past before, but I thought, well, I'll try. I saw somebody else doing this and I thought, yeah, that looks okay. I can't remember the person's name now, I'm afraid, but I thought it looked nice. Just try as far as possible to stay inside the lines, because otherwise they go a bit light. I know they're watercolour pencils, but I mean, whatever pencils you've got you could use, or again you can use like I said, inks. If you've got the white ink pad and the white sorry, I can't concentrate and talk, the refill as well. If you use the ink refill, you can use a little bit of water with that. You can put some onto a block, and you can use that as a palette to use to colour in with as well. And that, so long as you don't water it down too much, because you want to make sure that it shows up, because on the Early Espresso it will, crumb cake, it does look nice, I think, with the white as well. Just a small sort of shading in with it, and I think it looks really good. There you go. There we are. There we go, nearly finished. Hands. There we go. Right, so that's the faces done. Then the hair, I've got Pecan Pie. Just sort of doing a circular motion rather than having straight lines. But you can colour in however you want to colour it. I do usually use these as watercolour pencils, and usually then if you use water with it, it does tend to even out the colours as well. You don't see any straight lines or anything. But for today, I'm not going to. There we go. So that's that. I'm going to use some of the early espresso just to put a few shadows in where the lines are showing. There we go. And we'll just put some along the bottom of his beard, the back of his head, and at the top. There we go. And I'm going to use the early espresso for his staff, which I forgot to colour in on the other one. There we go. So that's all of that coloured in. So now we can put the card together, hopefully. Yes. So we put this on here. And what I did with the other one, I used some of the, this is an old one, linen thread. And I need to put this on first before I stick it down. Just straighten it out, pull it out first, just to take the kinks out, and then I'm going to tie a little bow there. So I'm going to put this over here and wrap it round. Three times and leave enough thread to tie a bow. I can always cut the ends off, that's not a problem. I want it over this side. No, I'll do it over this side this time to hide her skirt a bit. We'll pull these down a bit. These don't need to be all the way up there, but just to tying this. I can't get it. There we are. Bring it down, and I'm going to tie it in a knot, and then I'll tie a bow. So tie a knot first, just so that it doesn't move, doesn't go loose. So tie that tight. Now it did it, which is what I didn't want to happen. Ah, there we go, it's tightened it up again. There we go. So we want this to come across a little bit. No, tie a bow. There we go. I can make this smaller. You don't want it that big. There we go. Oops. And here's my snips. Just cut this down. There we go. Sort that out afterwards. Now I'm going to bring, if I can, bring these down a little bit. So just pull the paper a little bit and just spread these out a little bit more on that side and then on this side as well. Yeah, I'm going on a little bit today, sorry. Okay, let's try. And there, thank you. So that's probably as good as I'm going to get it. Right, so now we can use some, I'll use some Tombow to stick this down onto the gold. Just put some onto the thread as well, just so that it stays in place and doesn't move. Sorry, I think this has moved a bit again. Don't know why, even though we're nearly finished. Right, put this onto here. There we go. Stick that down, and I'm going to use some dimensionals on the back of here. There we go, plenty. I know some people use less, some people use more, so hopefully I'm somewhere in the middle. There we go. Right, there we go, and that will go on there like that. Just pop these out of here. One, two. There we go. So we've got our pine sprigs. And what I did, I snipped this one off there because that one's quite a long branch, and I'm going to snip this off here. And then I'm going to use some glue dots to stick them on with. There's one. And I'm going to sort of slide them underneath there like that. There's one. Here's the second one. So could have cut a bit more off, but I think it's fine. And for this one, I'm going to have to, whoops, roll this a bit. Take that off there, and then I'm just going to make this a bit narrower, my nails hopefully, so that it's not too much on the back there. That's pretty much, it's not quite hidden completely, but it's not too bad. And I'm going to put that just there like that. So that's going to be held in place. Final little bits. I have got some more inside, and I'll show you what it looks like, but I don't think I'm gonna, I might as well try and not keep you too much longer, and you can see what I've done on the inside, and I'll finish this one off once I'm off here. So one in a medium size in the middle, and then small one in the middle of that star, and a small one, whoops, in the middle of that star there. So these are gold textured adhesive back dots, but I don't know that these are available any longer. But I could have used the stars again, it wouldn't have mattered. But that's the card, so that's the original, that's how I coloured it originally, and then that's what I would have done on the inside, again with the little stars, O come let us adore him, and the lamb at the bottom. So those are the cards that we've made today. So we've got those two, we have these two, and we've got these four. So I don't know which you prefer, whether you'd have them diagonally or whether you like them with a vertical. You could do it horizontally as well. It wouldn't matter how you cut them. Obviously, if you're going to do it vertically, horizontally, you want to try and make sure your image is sort of in the middle rather than towards the bottom. It's completely up to you how you do it, if you have a go at that. So thank you very much for joining me. I'm sorry it's taken so long. Thank you. If you want any of the products that I've got, you can find them in my online shop. If you're not in the UK or Europe, you can find a demonstrator local to you and you can buy off them. But unless you're outside of France, Germany, Holland, Belgium, Austria, UK, Ireland, I think that's all of them. If you're from somewhere else, you can now buy things from us, but you have to purchase it through me, and then I think I have to then send them on to you, so you'd have to pay extra packaging as well then. But you can now buy things if you're not in one of the countries that actually sell the products themselves. I hope that makes sense. Thanks very much for joining me. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my videos, you can click on the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when I'm going live, you can click on the little bell icon and then you'll be notified. Thanks again for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.